It's another game day. It's another Squadcast day. I've got Jess Belmosto here of Locked On Flames to talk all things Johnny Gaudreau, all things Erik Gudbranson, and all things tonight's game.
Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to bring you news, stories, good, bad, ugly, everything in between about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and also over on YouTube. So if you haven't hit subscribe over there, please feel free to do so. It helps you out, it helps me out. Everybody wins. I also want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make every moment more and visit fanduel.com/lockedon today to get started. Like I said in the intro, today we are talking to Jess Belmosto of Locked On Flames. We're talking about Johnny Gaudreau's homecoming. We're talking about the Erik Gudbranson Experience, and we're going to make some predictions for tonight's game. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. Today is the long-awaited, anxiously awaited Johnny Gaudreau's return to Calgary since leaving for Columbus in free agency this summer.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. Thank you so much for joining me in another week of this tumultuous slip and slide of a season. I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and today I'm joined by Locked On Blue Jackets host, Jay Forster, and we are going to talk all about the Blue Jackets and, of course, Johnny Gaudreau. Jay, how are you?
I am doing okay. The Blue Jackets won a game, which is exciting.
They did.
Well, they win 2 in a row.
Sharks. Yeah. Is the tank for Bedard on?
So I've been having this conversation with a couple of other tanking hosts. I don't know that the Blue Jackets are tanking. I think they're just bad. The Blue Jackets. Let's get right into it. Johnny Gaudreau coming to Columbus was supposed to push the team. I don't know that they'd be I don't think that they would have been a Stanley Cup contender. They were, I think, supposed to make the playoffs. I had them down as a bubble team, probably getting one of those wild card spots. Johnny Gaudreau coming to Columbus. Expectations were high.
Yeah.
And then the season started and it just fell off a cliff. So I don't know that necessarily they are tanking on purpose. I don't think the plan for the season was to tank, but the Blue Jackets are definitely in a position where I think they have the third highest odds of winning the draft lottery right now.
So the odds are in their favor, I would.
You could say that, which, I mean, if there was ever a season to be, and I'm sure there's something we could talk about in the episode, if there was ever a season to be just as brutally injured and unlucky as the Blue Jackets have been this season, this is a pretty good season to do it.
Absolutely. So I guess we should dive right into it and get to the nitty gritty. What is it like having Johnny Gaudreau on the Columbus Blue Jackets now?
I love Johnny Gaudreau so much. Every single game I watch him and I'm like, man, I'm so glad this guy's on my team, and Flames fans know this. Flames fans are familiar with this feeling, but he's kind of been on a little bit of a cold streak recently. He's still leading the team in points. He's still, the best player on this team easily.
Yeah.
Even though he's been on a little bit of a cold streak, but just I feel like every single game he does something and I'm just like, oh my God, How did he do that? He's a game changer in the best kind of way, and never in a million years did. And we talked about this when the signing happened. You came on Locked on Blue Jackets, and I was like, listen, tell me about Johnny Gaudreau.
Yep.
Never in a million years did I think that we would get this kind of free agent signing, especially after last season. It was very much we're taking steps forward, but it's going to be a process. Johnny Gaudreau accelerated that process, I think. Obviously, the season hasn't gone the way any of us wanted, but he's still sitting at about a point per game. He's the best player on this team, and I am so happy that he's here for the next 6 seasons.
Yeah, I can't say enough things about Johnny Gaudreau. I think that he is just one of those players that, whoever he is playing for or playing against rather, they're like, why can't I have this guy on my team? And not in like the Tom Wilson, Brad Marchand kind of way where it's like everyone loves to hate him but would love to have him on my team sort of way. No, I think Johnny Gaudreau is just the perfect hockey player.
And he's one of those guys that, again, his reputation around the league is just a nice guy. Everyone has good things to say about him. I think he was a really great addition off the ice as well. The Blue Jackets have had some locker room issues in the past. And I think bringing in a guy like Johnny Gaudreau, he'd probably hate this, but he's a veteran in this league now, despite the fact that he's younger than me, which I feel fine about. And I think he's come in here as a leader. He's come in here as a guy that the young guys can look up to. I mean, Ken Johnson, for example, one of the Blue Jackets' bright young stars of the future, can't say enough good things about Johnny Gaudreau, and I think that's another thing that I didn't consider when they picked him up, was what kind of influence is he going to have on the younger players? And the answer is it's a very positive influence.
Yeah. Didn't Ken Johnson choose 13 because of Gaudreau?
He sure did. And then obviously Gaudreau came to there was a really funny bit actually where he didn't know that. Gaudreau didn't know that, and he was like, "Oh, he can keep it." And Ken Johnson was basically like, "Absolutely not, it's yours." So I think they had a little bit of like a pretend spat about it, but I think Johnny probably made it up to him
I'm
by
sure.
by I don't know, buying him a couple of nice dinners in exchange for getting to keep his number. But I think that's, I don't know, and I don't mean this as like a to rub it in. I know Flames fans miss him, but like genuinely, I could talk forever about Johnny Gaudreau and how happy I am that he is on my team.
Yeah, no, if you ever need a place to talk about Johnny Gaudreau, my DMs are open, because as a human being, I think he is fantastic. And of course, as a hockey player, he is just, he's pretty good there too.
He's pretty good.
I think that Flames fans are still reveling in their losses here, and I would expect loud boos tonight. But at the same time, like Gaudreau said it himself, he was like, if Jalen Hurts left the Eagles, I would boo him too. Okay, well, like it does come with the territory, and I'm sure he's had some time to think about it. But at the end of the day, it's one game, and you only get one homecoming. I'm looking forward to the tribute video. I'm hoping that it has the Game 7 overtime goal, obviously, from the Stars playoff series, but then the Sean Monahan hug. That was just wonderful. And I'm just going to pretend that Gaudreau is still a Flame. But that's okay, because we are just living in fantasy land here in the Sea of Red anyways. But coming up next, we're going to talk some more previewing of the Flames Blue Jackets game. And before we do that, I do want to talk to you about our friends at Athletic Greens. AG1 is a product that I start my every day with. Actually, I have some in my cup right now. I enjoy the 1 scoop of 75 whole food adaptogens, probiotics, and whatnot over a fistful of vitamins. It's very easy, makes my water taste better. And of course, it helps with my stomach, and anything we can help with that, we'll try. And AG1 has over 7,000 five-star reviews. They are recommended by professional athletes as well as trusted medical experts. And, I think that that's a testimony that we can lean into a little bit, right? Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with the convenient daily nutrition. It is just 1 scoop in your cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So we've talked about the Blue Jackets being a little bad.
Just a little bit.
Just a little. And you mentioned the expectations, obviously coming into the season being a little bit higher. But I feel like right off the bat that there were injuries. And they were pretty significant injuries. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of where things are progressing to?
Yeah. So in fairness, I say in fairness, the Blue Jackets were not doing, like, they had kind of a slow, they're generally pretty slow starters to the season anyway. So, they were really trying to find their feet, and then they lost in the space of maybe 5 or 6 games. They lost 4 guys for the season.
Wow.
One of which is Zach Werenski, who, number 1 defenseman, eats a ton of minutes, provides a lot of that offense from the back end. They lost Jake Voracek to concussion issues. Obviously, we hope that he's doing okay. He's looking after himself. If he comes back, I would take him back in a second, but he's got to put his health first, obviously. I don't expect to see him back, especially with the way the season is going. There's no point him rushing back to maybe get hit in the head again, and
Right.
then we start the whole process all over again. So if you're missing Zach Werenski and Jake Voracek, who by the way led the team in scoring last season, those are 2 big pieces that you've got to try and fill. And the Blue Jackets have struggled. They lost Jake Bean, who was one of the top 4 defensemen, out for the season. Justin Danforth, who admittedly was more of a depth player, bottom 6 guy, but still made his NHL debut last season at the age of 29. Really great story, really hard worker. Added something that not a lot of 4th-line grinders add to the game, I think. And it's kind of, since then, it's been just kind of a steady stream of, there are 2 players on the Blue Jackets right now that have not missed a game yet. Whether that's because of healthy scratching or injury or illness. The Blue Jackets have had some trouble with COVID this season. Both goalies have missed time with injury, illness, personal matters. Jonas Korpisalo's wife just had a baby, so he missed some time for that. Obviously, we love that. We love when there's a new team baby. But the Blue Jackets haven't ever really been able to find their rhythm, because as soon as they get one guy back, it feels like another guy goes down. They've still got like 8 guys on IR at the minute. They've got a couple of defensemen back that they've been missing for most of the season in Adam Boquist and Nick Blankenburg, and I can't overstate how much they've missed Nick Blankenburg. In his rookie season right now, play is 5'9", but plays like he's 6'6". Heart per 60 off the charts. Love Nick Blankenburg. So glad that we have him back. But even with getting those guys back, they've still got a ton of guys that are out injured. And that's kind of been, like you say, that's the story of the season has been, man, who on this Blue Jackets team stays healthy? And I'm just going to knock on some wood right now, because the only 2 players to not miss time so far this season are Gus Nyquist, who missed all of the 2020-21 season with shoulder surgery, and then played all 82 games last season and hasn't missed time yet this season. So love that. Love Gus
Yeah.
Nyquist. He's been a real bright spot of this season, actually, the past couple of years. And the other guy is Johnny Gaudreau, has played every game so far. So those are the only two guys that haven't missed time for the Blue Jackets this season. If that gives you a hint of just how injured they have been.
Yeah, no, that's crazy to me, especially because Gaudreau's wife had a baby fairly recently as well. So that might have been honestly before the season, or just like in September before the season started. I don't remember. But yeah, no, I feel like every time I logged onto Twitter at one point, it was just this Blue Jackets out for the season. This one, like Patrick Laine missed.
Patrick Laine has had two separate injuries.
Yes.
He got hurt 25 minutes into the first game of the season.
Yep.
Missed some time with an elbow sprain. Came back, played like 6 games, sprained his ankle, missed time. Came back, immediately got COVID and missed a couple of games. He's had a rough go of it. He's still tied for the team lead in goals right now, which probably, I don't know whether that says more about him or more about the fact that the Blue Jackets can't buy a goal this season. But it's been a rough going for Laine the last couple of seasons, because it's so frustrating because when he's on, I think genuinely top 5 goal scorer in the league if he can stay healthy. Last season he missed a bunch of time due to injury, and then his father passed away, so he missed some time with that. Obviously, completely understandable again. And then this season he came in, he opened the scoring on the season for the Blue Jackets. He scored the first goal of the season and then immediately got hurt and has still kind of been trying to find his rhythm. He had a hat trick a couple of games ago, so it's pointing in the right direction for Laine. I just hope that he can put it together, can stay healthy, have a really strong end to the season.
Absolutely. I think that one of the most exciting aspects as just a hockey fan in general is having Gaudreau and Laine on the same team. Just two absolute forces to be reckoned with. And I remember when the announcement happened, I was like, at least he has, a solid counterpart to work with, and he's not going to spend, a majority of his career waiting for a solid line mate. Like, that's, I don't know. Again, I'm just a sucker for Johnny Gaudreau. I think that anything he does is fantastic. But there is also another former Flame on the Blue Jackets who is slightly overpaid. Erik Gudbranson.
Just a little bit. Erik Gudbranson has been an experience this season. And I want to preface this with, I don't think everything that's going on with Gudbranson is entirely his fault this season. He has been playing way high up in the lineup because of injuries to defensemen.
Yeah.
Zach Werenski going out. Boquist missed time. Blankenberg missed time. Bean is done for the season. There's your top 4 of your top 6 defensemen. So really the only 2 healthy full-time defensemen that they've had this entire season has been Vladislav Gavrikov, who's probably going to leave in the trade deadline, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I'll miss him, but hey, I'll take a first-round pick and a prospect for Vladislav Gavrikov every day, which I believe is the asking price right now. But Erik Gudbranson has just kind of by default been one of the top 2 defensemen for the Blue Jackets. And he's a guy, and I've been saying this all season, he is a guy that is most effective when he is playing limited, sheltered minutes.
Yep.
I do not have a problem with the way that Erik Gudbranson plays necessarily. I think, again, he can be very effective. He's had some very good games for the Blue Jackets this season, where I go into natural stat trick and I'm like, oh, holy crap. Erik Gudbranson had like a 75% Corsi 4 percentage. He's had really good games for the Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
I think he's a good veteran presence. The Blue Jackets the Blue Jackets defense specifically is very young. Like, I think that he's the only one over 30. After him, it's Vladislav Gavrikov, who I believe is about 27 or 28, and then every other defenseman is, I believe, under 23 right now. It's they're babies. They're all babies.
They're children.
So I think having him around is great in terms of hey, he can be the team dad. And I've had this conversation with a couple of friends. Like, after last season, the Blue Jackets were always going to go out and overpay for an old, big, bad defenseman to be
Erik
that
Gudbranson.
veteran presence on the team. And at least they picked one that, like, seems like a good person, has cute kids, and is handsome.
Yeah,
like,
honestly, that's the most important part. Like, I'm sorry, but
those things.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that Erik Gudbranson is one of those players that truly benefited from playing in a Daryl Sutter system. And he was a solid third pair defenseman with Nikita Zadorov, who has also kind of had to take on that role throughout the season where there are injuries. And we don't need him playing more than like 10 minutes a night. Like, you can stick with those. We just need you doing a little warm up out there, like a little cardio at least. It gets dangerous when you start throwing players like that out there for minutes that they're not used to playing in their career.
Played up to 28 minutes on some nights this season, and like, I get it. Some of those nights have been, the Blue Jackets have had games where they've gone down. They've missed 2 defensemen, so they were playing with 4 defensemen, and then you're gonna log some minutes doing that. But
absolutely,
and I feel bad because Gudbranson has kind of become the scapegoat for this season a little bit of, well, why are we overpaying? Why are we paying $4 million for a guy to get caved in every night?
Right.
That's just how the sport works. That's how the game works.
Right.
NHL GMs love to overpay especially on free agency, for old bad dudes.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's their bread and butter. And so I don't know. At the end of the day, we're stuck with him for better or worse. And you just kind of have to accept that he's probably going to do at least 1 turnover a game, and you have to live with that.
It's the Erik Gudbranson experience. Hopefully at some point in his tenure as a Blue Jacket, you do get to experience playoff Gudbranson. I'm not saying he's a different player, but I think
feels like a guy that's built for playoff hockey.
Yes.
Like, I am both dating myself and by Brian Bickle in 2013 for the Blackhawks. Went out, and then again he got like a 6-year, $4 million contract on the back of basically just going out there and trucking guys for the entire playoffs, and that feels like the Erik Gudbranson experience.
It very much is the Erik Gudbranson experience, and like, not in like a bad way. I think he is a good defender. His role has shifted this season, like you said, and that's just what happens with injuries. And sometimes, I know July 1st hasn't been free agency day, but in the last few years, but those checkbooks come out for players like Erik Gudbranson on July 1st. So, that's only 7 months away. So we'll see who else earns that experience. It's probably going to be Milan Lucic, since he is on an expiring contract. But Jay, next up, do you want to talk about our a little bit more of this matchup?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So coming up next, we will absolutely dive more into this head-to-head matchup and Johnny Gaudreau's return to the Saddle Dome. The NFL playoffs are here. We are really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On, because they are the #1 sports book in America, and that is FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make sports betting fun and easy. For new customers, if you join today, you can get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your $5 bet. Just sign up at fanduel.com/locked-on. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. And I will probably be placing a bet on Gaudreau scoring a goal because, like Jay said, he is a point per game player, and I just want Johnny Gaudreau to score against the Flames. But it's all on the app. It's safe, it's secure, and easy to use. So football fans or hockey fans, place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at fanduel.com/lockdown. Are you a sports betting kind of guy, Jay?
I would like to be a sports betting kind of guy, but unfortunately, I'm very bad at it.
Yes, same.
I'm very stupid, and I don't understand math.
No.
So mostly, I'm like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. I'll pick my faves to. It's like fantasy hockey. I
Yes.
want to be a fantasy hockey guy so badly, but unfortunately, that ADHD just comes in real hard. I get bored halfway through the draft and then just start picking my favorite players. And shockingly, that is not a great strategy for fantasy hockey when everyone else is taking it super seriously.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely feel that. I think my fantasy hockey team that I completely abandoned a week into the season is truly just like 90% Flames.
Yeah.
That's okay, though.
It's sometimes the fantasy hockey is the friends you make along the way.
Exactly.
Is the thing. How do you feel about this game? Because I feel like this game is a trap, and I don't know who it's a trap for.
Yeah. No, I truly, I'm excited for it. I don't care. I know people have been, Flames fans specifically, have been dreading this like all season, especially with Kachuk's return. People were like, oh, well, if they boo Kachuk, they're obviously going to boo Gaudreau. I get it. It's part of the game, but like Gaudreau did so much for this organization. Just please put your pride aside for like 30 seconds, or not even like, just during introductions or anytime the puck is on his stick. But
in fairness, he has had a lot of boos this season, some of which I feel like are very unfair. Like the Islanders fans booed him when they were in Long Island, and I was like, listen,
you're
I understand
making
Devils
an
fans
offer for him.
booing him because Devils fans are well, A, insane, but B, they basically were the front runners for Gaudreau the entire time until he was like, wait, no, I want to go to Columbus, which fair. I would also rather be in Columbus, Ohio than Newark, New Jersey. But this is not slander. This is not slander the state of New Jersey hour. He's been booed a lot this season. He's talked about, like you said earlier, he's talked about it. I kind of come down on both sides. I am completely fine with booing players. We love in Columbus, we love to boo Jeff Carter. It's been 10 years and we still
incredible.
love to boo Jeff Carter. So my fiance is a Sharks fan. She lives just outside San Jose. So when I go there, we go to Sharks games. They still love to boo John Tavares after he didn't sign for them in free agency like 6 years ago. I love to boo John Tavares. They still love to boo Sidney Crosby after he won the Stanley Cup. In what was it, 2016, 2017, against the Sharks. Like I love to boo players for the thinnest possible reason. On the flip side, I will come to Calgary and fight anyone that boos Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, my passport is expired, but it's ready to just be on a plane and defend Gaudreau. Like, again, I think that this team has unfortunately had a tough go of it this season. I think that the Flames are in a weird adjustment period. I feel like I talk about this every season with them being in an adjustment period, but they are truly in a situation where they lost two high-end elite players in Gaudreau and Tkachuk, and they haven't been able to replace or replicate the kind of production that they were seeing from them. So they just won against Tampa, which was horribly unexpected. I was like, what do you mean you're putting up 6 goals against Tampa? Like, I thought it was a sick joke, but it wasn't. So, I wouldn't be entirely shocked if this team goes out there and craps all over themselves tonight and just says, meh, it's the Blue Jackets. Let's underestimate our opponents.
Which that has happened to the Blue Jackets a handful of times this season. The Blue Jackets have also done that to opponents where, they're like, oh, it's only Anaheim. It's only Arizona, both of whom have come into Nationwide Arena and walked away with wins this season. That's the thing about the Blue Jackets is I wouldn't be surprised if they go out tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if they go out tonight and are like, yeah, we're going to win this game. I wouldn't be surprised at a Johnny Gaudreau hat trick. I'm speaking it into existence. That's what I want from this game is the Johnny Gaudreau revenge tour. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they go out and just completely trip over themselves. And like they beat the Sharks. They didn't look good doing it. Even when they win games, sometimes they look terrible. I also wouldn't put them past coming out and looking really good and fighting hard and then losing anyway because the Flames are, despite their struggles this season, a better team than the Blue Jackets. So it's really tough to say how I think this game is going to go because the Blue Jackets love to disrespect me specifically. Whether they will disrespect Johnny Gaudreau is another story,
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing to watch for tonight is whoever is starting, like the true game changer and defining gameplay is going to be who's starting in net. And it's not because Markstrom is worse at, goaltending than Vladar is right now or vice versa. This Flames team is unrecognizable when they play in front of Dan Vladar. Like they look like a true playoff team. There is some sense of urgency. They're a very slow team, but they have a little bit of speed to them when he's out there. But when Markstrom's out there, they're playing like a bottom tier team. And it's so frustrating, especially, when you look at how much you're paying Jacob Markstrom and how good of a goaltender he is. Yeah, he's fallen off a little bit this season, but hasn't everyone?
Yeah, it's a weird phenomenon that I've noticed a lot. I mean, I've been watching hockey for almost a decade now, and I can never decide if it is confirmation bias or if it's a thing that actually happens in terms of teams play harder in front of their backups. And I don't know if that's because they trust the backup less to bail them out. I saw it a lot in the Sergei Bobrovsky years for the Blue Jackets. They would play like crap against teams if Bobrovsky was out there. And then you put Curtis McElhinney in goal and suddenly they become unbeatable. So again, is it confirmation bias? Is it completely unrelated? Who's to say? I have no idea who the Blue Jackets are going to put in goal tonight. Kolbasalo played the last game. He's kind of become the starter this season, which is a choice that is very baffling and I don't have time to get into because we are already running long. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him play. He's having a decent season. He's having a real good bounce back season. I'm going to miss him when they trade him at the deadline. Elvis has been bad this season, which makes me sad because I love Elvis.
I love Elvis.
But I think for the Blue Jackets to have the best chance of winning this game, I think it needs to be Korpisalo.
Since we are running a little bit long, I will, wrap up if you want to, because we do have some hockey to enjoy this evening. But how has Gaudreau acclimated to the Cannon?
I think he loves it. There have not been any hysterical videos of him jumping out of his skin, which does make me sad because I do think about that often.
Oh yeah.
But he something like 80% of his goals have been scored at home this season. So
Exposure
clearly,
therapy.
I think that's what it is. I think it's him being like, right, I need to get used to the Cannon because I'm going to be here a while. So if I just make it go off as many times as I can this season, then maybe I'll get used to it. And yeah, he's done a couple interviews where he's talked about how he loves the cannon now, which is generally, in my experience, how players are like, oh yeah, I hate the cannon until I'm on the Blue Jackets, and then I love the cannon, you know?
Yeah.
So
Right, because I feel like when, it's you, it's your team, like you're helping your team, and it's just confirmation that you're doing what you should.
Yeah. Also,
But
it's
I don't
fun as
know.
hell. I love the cannon. The cannon is my favorite thing about Nationwide. I know away teams hate it, away press hate it. I love it. Every time you boo the cannon, it just gets stronger. So
Yeah.
Johnny Gaudreau doing his bit to make the cannon go off more than not.
Yes. Where can you okay, before I dive into that, score predictions.
Oh god.
I know, I'm horrible at them. I'm horrendous.
I am going to say that I think Calgary takes this one 5-3, but I think all three of the Columbus goals come from Johnny Gaudreau, either scored by him, or I'm predicting 2 goals and an assist for Gaudreau tonight. But I think the Flames take it, and I feel bad about doing that because my whole thing this season has been no, bet on the Blue Jackets, because then you win. Like you get to be smug about being right, and you also get to back your team.
Yes.
But I think the Flames take this one. I don't know that the Blue Jackets are in a position to, like, yeah, they just came out with a big win against San Jose, but San Jose and Calgary are very different teams. So I think the Flames take this one.
I'm going to say it's a 4-3 overtime win for the Flames. And similar to you, Jay, it's going to be all Gaudreau on the Blue Jackets offense, because I just want a Johnny Gaudreau hat trick, and very much here for the Johnny Gaudreau propaganda revenge tour. And that's all I have for today. If you are, ready to wrap up, and are you, for those watching on YouTube?
We have had a small guest for those of you
Yes.
listening to the audio version of this.
It's my cat.
A small grey and white guest has been popping up occasionally during this episode. It's been very good.
Yes, he is a stage 5 clinger, and I love it. Oh, okay. Or you can bite my hand. That's fine. For those who are looking to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Jess Belmosto. If you want, you can see pictures of that little gray and white guest with his uneven soul patch. And you can, of course, follow Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, as well as Twitter at LO_FlamesPod.
I can't in good conscience recommend that anyone pays attention to the Blue Jackets this season, but if they want to catch up with Johnny Gaudreau, it is all Johnny Gaudreau all the time at Locked On Blue Jackets. You can find us wherever you get Locked On Flames. We're on YouTube. We are on Twitter at LO_Blue Jackets. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, which again is all Johnny Gaudreau all the time, occasionally some dog pictures and some Star Wars opinions mixed in, and as of yesterday, sandwich recommendations. So if any of those things are up your street, you can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOB FORSTER.
All right. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today, Jay, and go Gaudreau.
Yes, go Gaudreau. That's what we're finishing here with. And that's all I've got for you today. Tomorrow we will break down tonight's game against the Flames. Hopefully we'll be breaking down a win. We'll look ahead to the game against Edmonton on Wednesday, I believe. And hopefully we'll have some fun with it. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOB FORSTER. You can find the podcast at LO_Blue Jacket. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms. You're never going to have to get behind a paywall for a Locked On product. That is our promise to you. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.